The sky hung low over Seoul, grey and brooding as if themselves knew what you were walking into your umbrella, trimming your grief while you stood in front of the towering iron gate of Kim Mansion, a place where about it has stones a house has felt as isolated the man who lived inside. You were just 18, orphan, penniless and despair. The job were listening and being when you take a caretaker needed full-time live-in house, confidently immediate start, curious salary. There was no name, no detail, but something about the wall, no medical experience. Still, here you were, the gate cracked open as if sensing your presence, as older butler with a cold expression greeted you. Miss Vine, I pursue, follow me. The moment you step inside, the warmth from the outside faded. The mansion were in curious lifelines, thick carpets muffle your footstep and pirouettes. As exchange shear down from shadow wall, you press mate who blow nervously. Finally, the butler stopped it too in front of the double door. The patient and inside. Don't make sudden movement. Don't touch anything he's holding and never ask about his past. He opened the door slowly. The room was dimly lit, only a single lamp on the far side. The curtains were drawn in the air, smelling faintly of the paint and damp book in the corner. Sat him. You recognize him instantly. On's headline were the CEO, cold, cremistic, a man whose ever photo screamed power, but this version he sat barefoot on the floor, painting on the wall with his finger. He owns perfectly stay hair, now colored in messily. He wore soft oversized clothes and his eyes vacant like he was staring through world only he could see. You didn't speak, you only took one careful step inside and kneeled slowly near him, keeping distance. He didn't react, not until your shoes knuckled a small broken current. In an instant, he snapped his head toward you, his eyes wide alert, confused. He scrambled backward, grabbing the cairn in his like a sword. Don't steal it, he whispered. That's mine. She took everything else, but not this. You raised both hands, voice soft. I won't take it, I promise. I'm just here to help you. He stared at you for a long time. Then he titled his head like a curious child. Your voice, it's not sharp. The last one had a sharp voice. I can speak softer if you want, you offer gently. A pause. Then unexpectedly he came closer and poked your forehead with a paint-covered finger. You are not scary, that's weird. A bit. Do you like the star? He asked suddenly. You blink. I do. He smiled, a strange, soft, innocent smile. Good, because they talk to me when no one else does. That night you sat beside his bed, humming a lullaby. He didn't let you touch him, but he didn't make you leave either. And just before his eyes started closed, he whispered, you are different. You don't look at me like I am broken. You blinked back tears, because maybe you were broken too. And maybe that's why fate has brought you to this house, to the man who had forgotten how to live. Morning in the Kim Mansion always began in silence. No alarm, no bustle of staff, no shattering kitchen, just a heavy, breathless silence that felt like the house itself was holding his breath. You had been there for 3 days and still not a single smile from the staff, no warm greetings. Only grants, some beating, some cold, as if they were already counting down the day until you quit like the rest. But you stay because behind the heavy wooden door of his room, he was waiting anyways, always. Taehyung didn't speak much. He barely looked You in the eyes, he still flinches if you move too fast or knock something over, but he allows you near in the house. That was a beginning. That morning, you brought him his breakfast, a simple tray with a warm produce, some strawberry and a small honey jar. You placed it on the table near the window where he sat cross-legged on the floor painting the serenity. He wasn't using brushes, only his fingers smearing deep color on the canvas for each one hunting. One was a woman crying in a storm, one was a child hiding behind a door, one was a man with black eyes in his suit staring at the cracked mirror. You didn't ask what they meant, you just sat quietly watches. After a while he broke the silence. The maid called me crazy. He didn't look at you, his hand kept painting. The whisper it when they think I can't hear, but I can hear everything. Your heart raced. You looked at him gently. I don't think you are crazy. I think your mind is hurting. My mind is a prison. He said, eyes still distant. No key, just ghost. You kneeled down beside him carefully, not to touch him. Then maybe I can help you. One, open the window. Even if I can't unlock the door yet, he finally turned to you. For the first time, his gaze held you longer than a second. Why are you being kind to me? Your voice bravely come out. Because I see you, not just what the world say you are. He stared at you like he was trying to memorize your shape. Then he did something unexpected. He dragged a clean canvas toward him, dipping his finger in soft blue and painted a small figure, a girl, sitting beside someone much taller, both under a oak tree with a stair book. That's you, he said quietly. You bring blue. Blue is a calm. Your throat tightened. Thank you. He tilted his head. You say my name like it's secret. You smile softly. Maybe it is a beautiful one. The afternoon he let you open the curtain a little. Sunlight fell across the floor like a golden ribbon. He didn't flinch from it this time, and that evening when you tugged him in, he whispered again so faint you almost missed it. Will you come back tomorrow or will you leave like everyone else? You brush your hand gently across the edge of his pillow, not touching him. He will be here every day. I will be here every day until you are ready to walk out of the shadow. Outside his room, Park Jimin leaned against the hallway, arms crossed. He had been watching, listening. He pulled out his phone and sent a single text to someone unnamed. She might be the one. The third week in the Kim mansion began. Sunlight, unfair glow seeping through the window of the house that had long forgotten how to breathe in the light. You found him sitting in the hallway that morning, clubbing at the base of the climate, barefoot, sketching invisible patterns on the floor with his finger. He didn't look up. When you approached, she's crying again, he mumbled. You kneeled beside him, your voice soft. Who? He pointed toward the ceiling. The house, can't you hear it? It's lonely. You glared around her. Somehow you understood. This mansion was a prison, just like a place, and he was its most silent prisoner. Later that afternoon, some convincing help from Jimin, you Taehyung to come outside. You wrapped a soft cardigan around him and led him slowly back, guarding the staff cap softly. He passed. Some turned their face away. Some stared like seeing a ghost. It was the first time he stepped outside in 6 months. The air was different out, gentle, birds chirping above, a faint smell of jasmine. He stood frozen at the garden gate. She used to come here, he whispered. You waited, she told me the flower died too easily, just like love. You knew exactly who she was. Min Hyjin, his ex-fiancée, the woman who shattered him, the one who betrayed, caused everything. And do you believe her? You asked gently. He looked at you, then really looked at you, and no, because you came, nothing died since your breath catch. You took his hand without thinking, and for the first time, he didn't pull away. You led him to old wooden bench, breathing tree-heavy with a pale flower. He stared at the sky quiet. You offered him small sandwich wrapped in the paper, made his gradient. You knew he liked it. He ate in a slow bite, mumbling a quiet thank you under his breath. Then he laughed. A small sudden chuckle, blink, stunned. What's funny? You asked, settled by a sound. He tilted his head. You have jam on your cheek. You wipe it quickly, embarrassed, but he stopped your hand mid-air, leaned forward, brushing it away himself. The touch was feather-light, but it's brown like a spark. He looked at his finger, then whispered, I didn't get scared that time. That's progress, you smiled. Or maybe it's you. As you sat under the tree, a flower fell into your lap. You picked it up, tugged it gently behind his ear. You are not the ghost they talk about. He blinked. You are a man who's trying. That's more powerful than anyone else. He didn't answer, but he reached out slowly and took your hand, held it tightly in the moment under the late afternoon sky, surrounded by whisper petals. Since you both smiled quietly, the garden has finally remembered how to bloom.